My parents own a multi-million-dollar waste management company, but I've been working as the lowest guy on the crew without telling anyone who I am, so I'm 22 and I graduated from college a few months ago. Most of my friends have been stressing about job applications, polishing their resumes, and trying to land their first real job. Meanwhile, my parents sat me down for a very different conversation. They told me I wouldn't be job hunting. Instead, I'd be working for them. My parents run a pretty big waste management company. I'm talking city contracts, fleets of garbage trucks, recycling facilities, the whole thing. It's been in our family for years, and their plan has always been for me to take it over someday. But they made one thing very clear right from the start. If I was going to run the company one day, I wasn't going to start in some comfortable office with a fancy title. I had to start at the bottom, and I mean the absolute bottom. Honestly, I respected that. It made sense. If I'm ever gonna lead a company like that, I should understand what the job is actually like for the people doing the hardest work. So a few weeks after graduating, I showed up for my first shift wearing the same uniform as everyone else. No one knew who I was. I didn't tell anyone my last name, and I definitely didn't tell anyone my parents owned the company. To them, I was just another new hire starting out on the crew, and the work was rough. One day, I'd be riding on the back of a truck, hauling trash bins through neighborhoods in the rain. The next day, I'd be inside the recycling facility, sorting through mountains of bottles, cardboard, and whatever else people throw away. It was dirty. It was exhausting. But at first, it was actually kind of humbling. I started realizing how tough these jobs really are. The people doing this work every single day are seriously hardworking. It gave me a level of respect for them that I honestly didn't have before. But after a while, things started to change. At first, I thought it was just normal new guy treatment. You know, the usual stuff. I'd be the one asked to straighten out the trash bins after routes. I'd be the one cleaning up messes at the sorting center. If there was a job nobody wanted to do, it somehow ended up landing on me. Again, I didn't complain. I kept my head down and just did the work. I figured paying your dues is part of the process. But slowly, it started feeling less like paying dues and more like people taking advantage of the fact that I was the newest guy there. Some of the crew would sit around while I handled the worst tasks. Still, I stayed quiet until one particular day. It was pouring rain that morning. Not light rain. One of those miserable downpours where you're soaked within minutes. We were also short-staffed that day, which meant everyone had extra work. I barely slept the night before, and within the first hour of the shift, my clothes were already completely soaked, cold, tired, and running on caffeine, but I kept pushing through. By the time we were near the end of the shift, I was exhausted. That's when one of the senior guys on the crew, let's call him Ron, decided he was done for the day. Instead of finishing his tasks, he walked over and dumped the rest of his work on me. Then he said, "You're the new guy. You handle it. I'm heading out early." Something about the way he said it just pushed me over the edge. For weeks, I'd been letting people pile work on me without saying anything, but that day I finally snapped. Not angrily, just firmly. I told him, "No, I'm not doing your work. I've already finished my shift." The look he gave me was like I'd just grown a second head. Then he smirked and said, "Careful. Management might not like it if I start talking about your attitude." That was clearly meant as a threat, like if he complained about me, I could lose my job. So I looked him straight in the eye and said something I honestly didn't expect to say. "Then let's go talk to management right now." He blinked for a few seconds. He didn't say anything at all. Then he just turned around and walked away. That was it. But that moment stuck with me because it was the first time I'd ever really stood up for myself at work. And the interesting part is, I didn't use the one thing that would have ended the conversation instantly. I didn't pull the "my parents own the company" card. I still haven't told anyone, but that whole experience made me realize something. Being the owner's kid doesn't mean I need to let people walk all over me just to prove I'm humble. I'm here to learn how this company works, not to become everyone's personal doormat. And honestly, that lesson might end up being more valuable than anything I learned in college. Learn how this company works, not to become everyone's personal doormat. And honestly, that lesson might end up being more valuable than anything I learned in college.